Welcome, listeners. I am Deb with the Greatest Hype Girls, and today we have a super fun, interesting, cool person with us. And I'm really excited because this matters to me currently in my life. Is an LPC?
LCSW, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
LPC is a licensed professional counselor, and an LCSW is a licensed clinical social worker.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was really excited when I found out that I could get you on here. You just launched would you call it a matchmaking site or a dating site?
Yeah, I'm staying away from the word site because that implies that it's something that's online. And
Good.
I've launched it to be an alternative to online dating because I feel like people are tired of the online scene. So this is meant to be a very in-person connecting with other people and eventually getting matched. Yes.
I love it. So the Greatest Hype Girls is an organization, a group of women that just hype each other up, whatever it is that we do. It's not a business group. It's not a Latina only or certain. It's every woman, whatever type of woman, and we just hype each other up, help each other out, and most of the women are married, but some of us are not, and we're dating, and so. But most importantly, I'm excited to ask you to know more about how Bumble works, because Hinge and Bumble are not working for me. And I really, really, I'm a cheerleader of, I want them to work, but
what are
I'm
the
tired.
parts that are not working so well for you?
I am finding that I don't know where I am striking out. I don't know if I'm dating wrong, or I think that I can smell a catfish. I can tell what I don't like. Mm-hmm. Rarely have I ever been on a date that I feel like, oh gosh, like this one and I just don't, because I feel like I'm good at vetting.
Yeah.
But I don't get the second date.
Okay, so you're going on first dates that seem successful, and then they don't end up going anywhere.
Right.
And you're not getting feedback about why they're not going somewhere.
Right. Well, I don't want to ask.
Okay. It's vulnerable.
I don't want to ask because it seems desperate to me, and I think I'm very proud, and I don't want to be like, oh.
But maybe we could reframe that so that it doesn't seem desperate. It seems powerful. I'd like to have more information so I could do this better next time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're not asking him to give you another date. You're asking him for feedback about how you could show up differently.
I think I asked one guy once, and he's like, "Nothing. You were great." Like, what do you mean I was great? Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm so great, then. But then I don't want to be like, "Well, I'm so great." Then
why are we going out again?
Yeah. So I don't. And it's really, to be truthful, it's damaging to the self-esteem.
Sure. Because people walk away and think, what's wrong with me? And the truth is, nothing's wrong with you. This process is a flawed process, which is what inspired me to start Get Dateable.
It is a flawed process. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And it gets tiresome. Mm-hmm.
I think people have fatigue from being on the app so much.
Yeah. And then you get off it. And then you're like, okay, no, I'm going to try again. I'm going to do something different, or I'm going to change my pictures, or I'm going to get better pictures.
It's so interesting, Deb, because that is the story that I have heard almost verbatim from so many of my clients.
I'm not the only one doing that.
You are absolutely not the only one.
Well, I see men doing it because they're still on there too. And I'm like, I'm one of them. I can't be talking about them because I'm just like them. I'm on and off and on and off.
Because you forget how painful it was.
Yeah,
when you're off and then you're like, maybe it's better now. Maybe there are better people on there now.
Yes, that's exactly what I think. Yes. Like magically all these great guys are going to dump into the Hinge app.
Yep, exactly. I think that the thing you described is one of the most important things about doing this differently is that we do well with feedback. We like to know, what did I get wrong? What could I have done better? And it's so scary to give someone that feedback, so we just don't. And I have this firm belief, Brene Brown said this, clear is kind. And we think we're helping someone by not giving them the hard truth. But if there was something that I did on a date that offended someone or that made them not want to go out with me again, that's good information for me to have.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily mean I need to change it. It just means I need to know who's a good fit for me and who's not.
That's true.
Yeah.
This is true. Okay, so I have a bunch of questions.
Let's go.
Okay. What is the most common dating mistake that you see people make? And how can we avoid it?
The most common dating mistake that I see people make is being inauthentic. I think there's a difference between putting your best foot forward, which we all want to do, and trying to be someone that we're not. So I think we give a lot of thought to what is this person going to like? What should I wear? Am I going to look sexy for this person? Am I going to look beautiful? How should I talk? Like we think so much about what's going to impress the other person that we lose ourselves. And that inauthenticity ends up making us less attractive.
You know something that makes a lot of sense? I sense it with dates that I go on. I'm like, you seem kind of like, I don't know, you're talking too much about money or your work or you're like what do you like to do? You know, I don't really care about what you're worth or what you do.
So you sense that when your date is being inauthentic.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, you know what I think I am? I think I'm too authentic and I need to tone it down.
That could be true too. There is the other extreme of over disclosure. That is different than being
over disclosure.
Mm-hmm. Authenticity is one thing. Like I'm going to be my best self and I'm going to exhibit good boundaries. I just met this person. They don't need to know about my childhood trauma, or they don't need to know about my past relationship, or things like that. You want to be fully yourself, and you want to be mindful about who you share really personal information with.
Do you think people really talk about childhood traumas on first
100%. And they also talk a lot about their past relationship. That person was crazy. They'll say things like that, and you're like, oh, red flag.
I don't particularly like it when people shit talk the previous person.
That bitch was crazy.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot.
And you're like, you know what? No. If you have the capacity to talk like that about, someone, then not being authentic or being, what was the word again? Over disclosing.
Right. So one of them is not showing your full self, and the other one is showing parts of yourself that this person doesn't deserve yet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I talk too much. I need to shut the fuck up sometimes. Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue into something that I actually am posting about coming up on social media. Is being interested is such a good quality. Asking the person about themselves in a really authentic way, that you don't want to ask perfunctory questions like, so what do you do for a living? Yeah. But you want to think, what do I really want to know about this person? And don't be afraid to dig a little under the surface and ask deeper questions.
Yeah.
The other piece of that, though, is being interesting. So you want to balance that. You're bringing interesting things to the table, and you're also being interested.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you be interesting?
You think about what your life experiences have been. What are things you've done this week that you've been passionate about? Because your passion is what's going to grab someone's attention.
Right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Do you think that we are having a difficult time committing, that people are currently, like people in the dating community, like that are single, are having a difficult time with commitment?
Yes. And I think that the problem with commitment comes from an overabundance of choices that didn't used to exist. So if you imagine the cereal aisle in the grocery, and there are hundreds of boxes of cereal. And so you think if you get one and you don't like it, it's okay because you've got hundreds more to choose from. And I think about, there was a time where I lived in a small town in Mexico, and I would go to the grocery and there would be 3 kinds of cereal to choose from.
And that's it.
And you're going to take one and you're going to be fine with it and it's going to be great. I think that happens with online dating because people meet someone and they might be good enough, but they're not perfect. And so they have this idea that there are thousands more people out there that might be more perfect.
The grass is always greener.
Yes. And so I don't know if that's exactly a fear of commitment, but I think it is this idea that there might be someone better. And I think that the perfect is the enemy of the great, that you might give up someone great because you're waiting for someone perfect.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I've probably done it myself, like
Mhm.
sabotaged myself, maybe thinking. I think I don't know. I feel like be, I don't think women are as visual as men are,
Mhm.
and I think that on a dating app, that
Mhm.
it become like I'm more like, what do you do? What is your? Are you funny? Do you that kind of like?
You will often see a beautiful woman with an unattractive guy, but you rarely see a beautiful man with an unattractive woman. So to your point, I think
Yeah.
women put less emphasis on looks.
Yeah, I don't
Uh-huh.
like. Not that I don't care, but that's gonna
Yeah.
go away.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That is not what makes a relationship last, for sure.
And I feel like if you're not engaging, I'm fine by myself with my dog Charlie.
Uh-huh.
Like, we're great.
Yes. It takes a
Um,
very good partner to be better than no partner at all.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yes.
So the options on social media, the options uh on the dating apps, just it's not even in public anymore. Like, I go to the farmers markets and I go to public, like, I've been making a huge effort to do things.
To show up in public.
Yeah, to show up in
Uh-huh.
public and see, like,
Yep.
go sit with my dog under a tree and read a
Mhm.
book.
Yeah.
Or go, like, maybe someone will come talk to me.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened. But you have to keep trying.
Keep putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have noticed that first date options, men, and this was a conversation I had with my little brother, and men tend to opt for coffee because it's cheap, it's inexpensive, and it's fast. Like, you
Mhm.
go, you sit down. I think that personally, I think they do it just because, like, let me see
Mhm.
if I bang her, and then right, like, if she looks like her pictures,
Yep.
and if not, then I paid $6 for a coffee, and hey, it was nice meeting you. It was
Mhm.
just a coffee date.
Mhm.
I find that so gross and rude.
That's interesting. I think that's about perspective. I often suggest that people go to coffee on a first date because it's low commitment. You're not spending a ton of money. Either person. I wouldn't assume that the other person was going to pay for the date regardless of their gender.
Yeah.
We both pay for our own $6 coffee, and we have a low amount of time that we're committing to this, because who knows? I don't want to spend 4 hours and $100 on a night with you when I don't know you.
And I feel like you should spend like $200 on me in 4 hours.
Interesting. So you're assuming that the other person's going to pay for the date.
No, I don't ever assume that. I always, go prepared.
Yeah.
Um,
Because it's funny, when I said $100, I was thinking I was just going to be paying for my own.
yeah, no, I'm like, you pay the $200. I think it's cultural. I do think it's very cultural. Growing up in a Hispanic household, we like, my brothers and father have always paid in our community. Like, it's just rude for your sister to, like, it's offensive if if someone sees your wife pulling out her card or your daughter, like, to pay.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, like, what? Get the pasa? Like, why is she paying? Like,
Yeah.
do you not make enough money? Like, what? And it's really, again, about maybe appearances.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, and I don't. It's
I
something
know lots of women who think that as well.
That I grew up with. I don't believe that it should be that way, and I think that, if somebody wants to split the bill, I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I probably won't go on another date with that person.
Really?
I won't. I just won't. For me,
Uh-huh.
I just won't. But I believe that, like, in a relationship, I probably would make a lot of gift purchases or pay for dinners or, like, Venmo the money back to the individual. I buy plane tickets or pay for the concert tickets, things like that, for it to be fair, not stick the guy with a bill, for everything.
Yeah.
But I think I'm very like an old school lady that's like, I need you to work a little. I need to see some hustle. Like I need to see some effort.
You're not alone. I know a lot of women who feel that way.
And if like we're starting off when you're couponing and you're like, we're doing happy hour because you're cheap. I don't think that's for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think being cheap is not going to be attractive. That you can plan things that don't cost a lot of money, but not because you're cheap.
Yeah, like you could go on a date and take a baguette and a bottle of wine.
Yeah,
and sit
bring a
under
beautiful
tree.
picnic to Zilker Park and sit under the tree. Like that's amazing. And that doesn't cost a lot of money and it's well thought out. So the person's putting effort into it. Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
So it's not really the monetary thing. It's the effort.
Yep.
It's the effort.
Yeah. And going back to the idea of a first date, I don't think a first date is where you put in a lot of effort because you don't know yet. So if you're dropping
go in and just like awe me. I don't know. I'm about like first impression.
Yeah.
But I do feel, I don't know why, I do feel that you should go on at least 3 dates with the person to get to know them better.
Okay. Tell me more about that idea.
I read it somewhere and I'm like, that makes so much sense. Because, for example, on the first date, you're really nervous. I get nervous all the time. By the second date, you're already at a comfortable level. You might have an inside joke or two. You probably could eat now. If the guy only wanted to do coffee, you could sit down and eat.
If he was a cheapskate who only
like now he's gonna, take you to dinner. You can also gauge where he decides or where he throws options out for dinner. You could gauge what type of diner or restaurant person he is.
Right.
I love eating.
Yeah.
And I love eating out.
Yeah.
And like, I don't like chains. So if somebody were to throw out a chain option, game over.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm bad. Like that's terrible, right? That's not very open-minded.
Says the woman who isn't getting second dates.
Right.
Perhaps we should talk more about
like,
this,
okay,
Deb.
fine, I'll go to Chili's. Fair. Like,
no, I'm gonna say no if he pulls Chili's out of the hat. That's
yeah. Right? Like you see when like I don't know. And so so the second date, okay, there's dinner, you could see like how they behave, how they treat the waitress, how they treat
that's huge. For sure.
And then a third date, you get a little more comfortable and you can I don't know, by the third date you can really see the person. Yeah. You get a better idea of the individual. And then you can ascertain whether you would like to continue or not. Because I think I fuck up all the time,
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, give me a second chance.
Do you typically know after the first date though whether you want to see them again?
Not really. Not really, because there are a lot of things that I like about the individual. And then there are some things that I'm like, ooh.
Okay, wait. Hold on, Deb. So what does this talk about your she shed? Everything that you've been talking about, the she shed, blah, blah, blah. What is it? What's going on?
So, you know that I like to refurbish furniture, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I needed a space, like an actual dedicated space for me to fix furniture. Okay. Not in my garage, not in my house, not in my patio. So I had one of my own general contractors come out. I had a certain budget and I was like, can you do it with this much money? And they did. Like they created like a little
Okay, but what I want to know is, so they built your she shed.
Yeah.
You know that my backyard is my paradise. My swimming pool.
Right.
I've got everything back there. Can he build a kitchen? An outdoor kitchen. Not just any kitchen. A special kitchen for outdoors.
Bro, 100%.
By a swimming pool.
Yeah, 100%. He could totally tear your house down, rebuild another one. He could throw in an outdoor kitchen, pizza oven, by the pool, whatever you want. He could do whatever you want. Like
Sold. I'm in.
Awesome.
Give me his information.
512-766-4842. Text or call him.
Nice. What was the name again?
Montemayor General Contractors. Hooking up on first dates.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no? What do you
I
think?
think it's a personal decision.
Um,
What's your end game?
right. Well, I think women get disappointed when they don't get called after.
I think this is a little bit like paying, that this tends to be divided along gender lines. That if you go out with someone and you're attracted to them and you want to be sexual with them, go ahead.
Do it.
If
Yeah.
you're being sexual with them because you're trying to pull them in,
That's
not the right reason.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so if what you want in that moment is to be sexual with someone, then you're getting your needs met. Go
Go
ahead.
for it.
So you need to check in with yourself to figure out if you're
Another-
doing it for an ulterior motive or if you genuinely just feel sexual that night.
I think that's fair. I
Mhm.
think that's fair. Yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes maybe. What is your take on alcohol on dates, on the first date?
Yeah. I would say make sure you don't overdrink on a first date, because you're not going to be your best self and you're not going to be able to make good judgment about the other person. I think often when we overdrink, we regret our behavior the next day. And so I think especially on a first date, it's important to not do that. And I think people do it because they're nervous, and alcohol
100%.
it gives the illusion of calming our nerves. And so
It does not calm
Yeah.
our nerves. It just makes us do stupid things.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it gives you a chance to observe the other person's behavior around that too. If somebody's pounding back drinks on the first date, that may give you some information about whether you want to continue.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what, like the oversharing part, whatever. What I noticed, I am at the tail end of treatment for breast cancer for the second time, and there are gaps in my life, from whether it's my career or whatever, and those gaps are because I'm going through treatment.
Yeah.
It happened in 2017 the first time, and then 2022. And there are gaps of like a year and a half of getting a mastectomy. And it's such a heavy topic. And you go on a first date, and it's hard to explain. And I don't know, like, I wonder sometimes I just say, like, look, I had cancer. And then I second guess myself, and I think maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I could tell that they're like, well, what were you doing? Like, where were you? Why this? Why that? Like, they're trying to fill the gaps as they're inquiring about me, my life. What am I doing?
Yeah.
And I know what they're getting at. Like, where were you? What were you doing?
So I think with any kind of self-disclosure, it's important to figure out why we're disclosing that. And so if you're good now, like emotionally you're good with it, you're not still dealing with the trauma of having cancer, which is a lot to deal with, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're still dealing with it, then you go to therapy and talk to your therapist about that. If it's something that you're solid about, then you can say, oh, I was dealing with some medical issues, so I was out for a year, or I had breast cancer and it took me out of my life for a year.
Yeah.
If you're looking for sympathy, if you're still dealing with the trauma and needing some emotional engagement around that, a first date's not the place to do that.
No. I don't like to disclose it because I feel like I'm like, personally, it feels like broken goods. Yeah. So I prefer people not know.
So that's like the flip side of it.
Yeah.
Is if you're
Like,
carrying some
it's
kind
not
of
like-
shame about it, or you're feeling bad about yourself.
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Like,
that's-
no, we don't
Yeah.
need to, like, that's already in the past. It already happened.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it there. But
I would be matter of fact if it comes up.
I like that.
Yeah, just
like,
be matter
oh,
of fact about it and don't brush it off, but say I was dealing with some medical issues. I was dealing with breast cancer. It was a rough year, and look at me now.
That could go for anything, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say
Yep.
you go through a divorce, or
Or you
you're
were unemployed, or
unemployed,
Sure.
or you
Yep.
were taking care of your mom.
Yeah.
Or,
Yep.
Yeah. So I always wonder, is it too much to disclose on a first date, or?
I think you can weigh that out. And like I said, ask yourself why you're disclosing it.
Yeah.
You don't want to go. I think there's a continuum between secrecy and shame. And that on one hand, this is a topic that is secret. I cannot talk about it. between secrecy and mandatory disclosure. So secrecy is on one end where we feel shame about something and we can't disclose it. And the other side is I must disclose this. Neither of those is great. You want to be in the middle where if it comes up, I can talk about it. I also don't feel the need to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you're kind of neutral about it.
Another big thing was that I had my photographs, like I had wigs on and they were different.
In your dating profile?
On my dating profile. Some were blonde, some were curly and black, some were, and they were like, well, what color is your hair?
So you would probably want to just represent yourself authentically as you are today.
I am now because now I have hair.
Yeah.
But I didn't
Yeah.
want to take pictures of myself without hair. So
Yeah.
and I think I really wanted normalcy, but that was
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there a question that people don't ask you that you wish they had asked you?
About dating?
Mhm.
That's a really good question. I think it's so refreshing talking to you because you're very open. I think sometimes people don't want to take a look at themselves. They want to look at why they believe that their dates aren't working out because something's wrong with everyone that they're going out with.
I know I'm a hot mess.
And so I don't know if that's exactly a question that people would ask, but maybe the question would be, how can I show up better? Like, how can I show up differently on dates? Yeah, that's probably it.
So how can I show up better? Less judgment.
Allowing yourself to be more curious than judgmental.
Yeah.
I think that would be great for you. And checking in with yourself about self-disclosure, about what's prompting you to self-disclose or not self-disclose about having breast cancer, those kinds of things.
I like that.
I might stretch you outside your comfort zone about who pays for the date a little bit more.
Really?
Yes.
What if on the second day I offer to pay?
I would just challenge you to think about your value system around that.
Really?
And it's okay if you still land where you land.
What,
but this person doesn't know you, and it's an investment. If they take you out, especially to a nice restaurant, that's an investment of several $100s.
Maybe I feel like I've got like my self-esteem went from very low to very high.
That it has nothing to do with whether you're worth it.
So great. I don't know,
You are so great. Of course you are. And of course you're worth a nice dinner. And you're also a capable, competent woman who can treat herself to her own dinner.
Yeah, and I do it every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like if you want to spend time with me.
My company, I'm also a valuable person. My company should be enough.
I'm gonna die on that hill.
Yeah, you can. I will allow you to die on that hill, Deb.
I don't know. I mean, times are changing, obviously. I don't know. I don't know why it's so ingrained in me, but I would cast. One time I was on a date with a guy, and all he did was talk about Dave Ramsey and how much money he's saving, and like how we were getting only appetizers because they were, happy hour price. It was so stupid. I was like, this fucking guy, man.
Yeah.
He's so fixated
that guy's
on
not a fit
money.
for you. And there's probably some very thrifty woman who would think that was amazing. So you just know that guy's not a fit for you.
And when the bill came, he's like, okay, so you had 3 appetizers. I was so bothered by that I was like, just give me the bill. I'll pay for you and me. Yeah. You don't have money for you can't afford this date. Just I'll take it. I'm an aggressor like that. I get like rowdy, really. And he was like, no, I didn't mean. I was like, no, I've got it. Yeah. I've got your little appetizers. It was just so, and what also I think it gives me anxiety, and again, it's my personal problem. It's the whole like, well, can you split it halfway and the card over here, and I don't even like it in groups. Like when we go out in groups of people, my friend, we rotate the bill. Like, hey, I've got the drinks tonight.
Yeah. And
then the next night, like, hey, I've got them.
Yeah.
And that's it. So, because it's kind of like embarrassing to be bothering the service person, the person waiting on you, to split the bill, and you're sitting there, and it's like I get like
I can tell this is a very hot button issue for you.
Can you see me getting all flustered? Like Like the poor girl or the guy is having to break the, like, just somebody pay this thing. We'll Venmo you, whatever. Just I'll pay it.
Mhm.
Y'all.
Yeah.
Why am I like this? I don't know. But it really is.
I see that this
Obviously,
gets
a
you.
point
This
of
gets you
contention.
fired up.
How do I work through that?
Yeah, we can. That's a whole other topic.
Like, I guess we'll talk to my therapist about this. She's going to ask me how this podcast went, and I'm going to tell her, you know what? We've got issues in the dating payment department.
Yeah.
It's
funny because when I think about that, I have been in a relationship for a long time, so I'm not dating. But if I were going out on a date with someone, I would say, hey, I'd like to take you to dinner on Thursday. I would make it really clear that that was my intention. Like I was going to take you to dinner on Thursday, or I was going to buy you a coffee.
Yeah.
So then there's no question at the end of the night. And if the person said that to me, I would be totally fine with it. I think that you should clarify it up front. And for me, it feels like empowering to not have to be in that weird situation. I'm just like, yeah, let me buy your dinner.
The assumption shouldn't be made. Like they have to clearly state.
I think it would be easier if we didn't make an assumption about it.
I mean, I'm always going to assume the guy's going to pay. Always.
I hear that.
Always. But I'm always going to be prepared if they don't.
Right.
Right. But I'm not going to fake pull my purse, my card out. I'm not going to fake. I'm not doing that. I'm going to sit there.
Okay.
And they can, like, if they ask me, I'm gonna pull a Deb and I'm gonna be like, I'll pay yours too, chump. That's terrible. It's a terrible attitude, right?
It's just an interesting idea because it sets
bad.
you up to be unequal with that person from the outset. It doesn't set you up as equals.
Really?
No.
You feel that?
Absolutely.
You think that?
Why would you assume that someone else is going to pay for you? That then you're not equal with them.
Like I feel like I'm above them?
I don't think it's above. I think it's below. The person who's paying is the person who's got the power.
You don't think the person who's not paid has got?
Absolutely not. I think
I
it's
don't think it's about power for me. I just think it's like, if you can't afford a dinner, you shouldn't be going on dates, bro. Stay home. Eat a ramen noodles and play your video games.
But maybe it's not about affording. Anyway, you said you're going to die on this hill. I don't need to convince you otherwise. I just have a different idea about it.
Yeah, I had never really thought about it from a power perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's the case. Maybe, culturally that's why it's
before we
done.
started recording, we were talking about culture, and definitely there's a huge power differential between men and women in Latino culture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's a part of me that's still, as progressive as I think I can be or I am. I'm not. Maybe there's something ingrained in me.
Sure, those are holdouts from our past for sure that are deeply ingrained.
I think my kids, I have 2 daughters, and I think one is like, I will pay my way. I don't want you to pay for anything because I don't want you to expect anything from me.
Yeah, I think there's another
generation
extreme
is,
where like I will not allow you to pay for me.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. It's like when you're with your friends and you said, oh yeah, sometimes I buy and sometimes my friends buy. That's normal.
Yeah.
And if you had a friend that was always insisting on paying, there's something that's kind of disconcerting about that.
Yeah.
Or a friend that sat back and let you pay all the time. That would be terrible. Yeah. So
that has happened to me.
I think in dating, it shouldn't be different. It should be the same. Like maybe sometimes I pay, sometimes he pays. It's fine.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't have a problem like on the second or third date, but I just feel on the first date, they need to come in strong.
I'm going to give you that.
And then depending on how strong they come in, then I'll offer to pay for the second date. I had a wonderful date last night, and I will probably offer to pay for concert tickets or for,
And maybe you can make it clear, like, hey, you took me out on Thursday. Yeah. Next week, I'd like to take you out.
I'm not like an ogre. I'm like, but I just think for me, like you did it without me asking. Now I'm going to show you that I can, and I will pay for things, for a dinner or for like an event or something cool. But I don't know why there's something about that first date that I feel like I should be like wined and dined or
Mhm.
whatever. I don't know. I'll get through it. I'll get through it, or I'm never gonna get a second date, right? Okay. So there's a game I like to play, and it's called Would You Rather.
Okay.
So, would you rather go on a date with someone who doesn't at all look like their profile picture or their picture on their dating app? At all doesn't look like that.
Mhm.
Or someone that does not wash their hands after using the bathroom?
Wow. Can I respectfully decline both of these dates?
No, you have to pick one.
Because the
You have
person
to
who
pick one.
doesn't look like their profile picture they have a problem with authenticity. Because if they felt okay about who they were, they would be putting their true self in a photo
Right.
on their app. But someone who doesn't wash their hands after they go to the bathroom, bad hygiene. I think that's going to trump for me. I could not date someone with bad hygiene.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be that.
You don't think that, well, I mean, at this point in our lives, right, you either have good hygiene or not.
Right.
You can't teach
Yeah,
that anymore.
if you've become full grown and you don't wash your hands after you go to the restroom, then nope, not for me. That could be fine for someone else, but not for me.
Cool. Okay.
That's a great question, though.
Awesome. Do you have any questions for me?
Tell me your plan for moving forward with a second date. What's your plan for making sure you get to the second date?
Ooh, my plan to get on the second date from the date from yesterday.
No, just in
Any
general.
date.
That you said that you get first dates, but you typically don't get second dates. So I want to hear what your plan is for getting to the second date.
I don't think I have a plan. I think I'm gonna. I think I ask a lot of questions. Maybe I ask too many questions. I don't know, really. What should my plan be?
I didn't have anything in mind in particular.
I don't know. I'm just gonna have 1,000 first dates.
That was a movie.
I'm stumped. I don't know. I don't know. How is gonna help me?
Oh, that's a great question.
Tell me, how do I sign up? What do I do? How?
Yeah, great question. So the way that you get connected with is that you take an assessment that's on our website. I've created an assessment so that you can sort of look at the things that you can shore up that might help you become more dateable. That assessment's free. You'll get some good information about what to do, what next steps to take.
Oh, good. Okay.
If you want help taking those next steps, then you can we have some learning components. You can purchase some videos and workbooks that'll help you address the things that are holding you back. The thing that I'm most excited about, though, is that we've created a community of people. This is where you actually develop a support system. You have people in real life giving you feedback. You have people supporting you for when you're going on a date and you want to know what to wear. You have people to call.
Really?
Yep. And you also, so by the time you've done your work and you've been in this community of people who have also done their work, at the end of that, there is a dating pool full of people that have done their work. And so that's where you get matched with someone.
I like it.
Yeah, it's really fun.
What does it cost?
The cost is varying for the workbooks and the videos. The cost for the membership is $5,000 for a 1-year membership.
Oh, that's actually a fair amount.
It's actually a really good value because it includes individual coaching, 4 sessions of individual coaching, a year of group coaching, special events, and matchmaking, and the community piece.
I like that. I like that a lot. I want to take that assessment.
Definitely go online and take the assessment.
Okay, listener, I think this is a wrap.